Hi everybody, thanks for coming back to my channel. I really appreciate all the support and the feedback. So if you're clicking on this video, it's probably because you're dealing with a stuck oil drain line on your K03 turbo. If you've been following along, you know that I just swapped the K04 turbo into this car, and one of the problems I had along the way was the bolts holding the turbo oil drain were stuck and stripped out, so I had to figure out a way to remove those bolts. One of the ways is to remove the axle below the turbo to get to the bolts, and then an alternative would be draining all of the oil in the engine and leaving the line attached to the turbo, but then you have to deal with a big mess and, disposing of the oil. So I was actually able to come up with a way to remove the bolts without having to drain the oil or remove the axle. And it's in a long video that I was actually editing to put out like a full K04 swap video. But what I decided to do was take segments out of that long video that I thought were important. So this segment would be where I got to the point where I figured out how to remove those bolts. And what I want to do was remove that from the longer video and then insert it so you guys can watch it as its own video instead of being buried in a long 1 hour video on removing a K03 turbo. So I'm going to start that video right here so you guys can check it out. Hi everybody, it's actually the next day in the shop, and I'm actually glad I waited till today to pull that oil drain on the turbo. I thought about it all last night and realized that I didn't have to pull the axle out. What I could just do is probably shift the turbo over and gain access to the bolts that are stuck. I'm going to set you guys up on the camera, hopefully in a spot you can see, and start working on getting the turbo out. Okay, so shifting the turbo did give me a straight shot to one of the bolts. Actually, shifting the turbo was able to get me a straight shot to both of the bolts. I'm going to try to work with that now. So the problem I'm having is this one bolt on the oil drain is stuck and stripped, and I can't get it to budge. I'm hoping I can get it to snap off at least. I have to get something in there. I have to get something on this to get it off. I'm gonna try maybe an easy out. I'll try and hammer one of those onto it. One other idea I had was to maybe hammer a Torx bit into it, and maybe it will jam in and form a new contact area. Oh, that may have worked. Now I need to hammer it in more. It started to work, but I'm not in all the way. Okay. All right, awesome. All right, before I pull this out, I want to pull the back one out. success. Okay. All right, you can see now the turbo is completely loose, so we're gonna pull this thing out from the top. Okay, we're on the next part. What I'm gonna do is set you up so you can see the turbo come out, and I wanna show you what I was doing on the oil drain bolt. If you look, this is supposed to be Allen head. It's now Torx because I hammered a Torx bit into it to help have something grab and be able to rotate this out. So that's what I was doing when I was hammering the Torx up into it. Is it really that simple? It seems like it. Okay. So that was the oil drain return line removal video. I took that out of the main video because I thought it was important for people to know how to do that. It was very, very hard to do, and it took a lot of thinking for me to figure out what I wanted to do. And ultimately I figured out you could just shift the turbo over. I'm not sure how many people can get it done that way. And then the bolts were so stuck that I had to hammer a Torx bit in, and that's why I wanted to make sure people saw that, because it saved me and was able to get the line off. So thank you again, everyone. I appreciate everybody who's liking and subscribing. And the full video will be posted as well, so you can see the whole removal and install in basically real time, or when I did it, versus cutting it up into separate parts. Thank you again, everyone. And if you have any comments, please leave them below. And I appreciate everyone who's keeping in touch and liking and subscribing. Have a nice day, everybody.